So I've been making some music theory videos because I think music theory is pretty powerful if you learn the right amount of it. It can also become you can kind of get off track with music if you worry too much about music theory, but not knowing like the fundamentals can also kind of really limit like what you have access to. And also you can learn a lot more from other people if they know some music theory, because it's kind of like just an easier way to communicate. So if you watch those videos I put up, they're just called guitar theory. I'm just going to cover everything I covered in those videos. So the first thing I covered in the first video, except I'm going to do it on the guitar. So the first thing I covered was I start with a G chord. What I was saying is a lot of people play G like this. But I think it's better to actually learn this version with this finger free. This version's not that great. This version is useful with an extra D, but this way I actually use it the most, because when you go like from G to C or to F, whereas if you're in the key of G, this version's useful to go from G to D, but it does sound different because you have an extra note right here. So both are useful, but I'm going to cover this version. So what I was talking about in the video was where the root notes are. So this note is G. One way you can figure it out is this is the E string, E, F, F sharp, G. So there's G. And this is a G major chord, so this note G is the root of G. But one thing that's confusing, a lot of people say the root note, when they think about it, they think about the lowest bass note, and that's for a good reason, because when you build chords, a lot of times this is the most important note. Like for chord construction, this is the G that would interest me the most. But really, there's lots of root notes or tonics, or you could call it the one, in any chord. It's just, if the chord is G or G minor or G7, it's just all the Gs. So here's a root note, G. Here's another one, G. And here's another one. They're just in different octaves. So all of those are root notes, and you actually want to know where all of them are. The next thing I showed was how this is the 3. This is called the major third of the root note. So it always has to be of something. So here's the 3 of G, the root note. The next note is the 5. And this note is D. So this is the 5 of G. It always has to be of something. So 1-5 is actually a power chord. So if you go like this, just these two notes, it's actually a power chord. It's the same thing as going. That note is actually the same as that. So you could play a power chord like this, a G5. So far we have 1, 3, 5. The next one is the 1 again. 1, 3, 5. I mean 1. This is 1. So the voicing of the chord, you name it from the lowest up. So this is a major chord, so it's a 1, 3, 5. But you can have duplications, and the order that they occur is called the voicing, and you name it this way. So the voicing of this chord is 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 1. So if you had this version, this D is the 5 of G. So the voicing would be different. It's still a G chord because it's 1, 3, 5s. It's the 1, 3, 5 of a G major scale, because this chord is, all these numbers are coming from, like, this is a G chord, so those numbers are coming from a G major scale. And each time you do a new chord, this is a confusing point. Say we want to figure out a D major chord, the numbers would be in relation to a D major scale. If we switch to C, it would be in relation to a C major scale, even though we're not switching, even though we're not actually switching keys of the song. So it's a confusing topic, because it kind of like, you're switching scales to think about your chords, but the whole song, like if you're strumming G, C, D, would be in the key of G. But when you're switching chords and doing chord construction and thinking in scale tones, for each chord you're thinking about the major scale. So like a D major scale, C major scale, G major scale. So that was the first video. I just showed where the root notes were, 1, 3, 5 of a G chord. Then the next one, I started getting a little more sophisticated, talking about the different scale tones in this D major chord. So now we're thinking in terms of a D major scale. That's where all these numbers are coming from. So here's the root note. There's the 1, the 5, another 1. So this is actually a power chord. And then the 3. And this is the regular 3 because it's a major chord. So then the question is, how do you turn a major chord into a minor chord? Well, if we're doing the trick is to know where the 3 is, because that's what's giving a major chord its character. Because if I'm not hitting this note, if I'm just strumming this, that's actually a power chord. And this is kind of a weird shape because most people think of power chords like... You can actually move this around. This is also a power chord. You see people do it sometimes. Sometimes people will be like... It's just not as common as doing it. So right here, this would just be D5 because it's 1s and 5s of a D major scale. But when we add our middle finger, now it's D major because we have a 3 in there. And the definition of a major chord is 1, 3, 5. So the question is, how do you turn this into a minor? Well, a minor chord, the definition, it has a flat 3. So if this is the 3, the flat 3, just like you flat a note, is 1 to the left. So there is D minor. So that single note change of the 3 from a major to a flat 3 is what makes it minor. So anywhere I play D major to D minor, you can tell the note I'm changing. That was 3, flat 3, or up here. Here's D major. G minor. So that single note is the 3 to the flat 3. So D major, 1, 3, 5, D minor, 1 flat 3, 5. Then another useful chord is D sus2. And that has the open string, which is the 2, the second note of a D major scale, so that's why it's called the 2. And people like to go like this is what I was talking about in the video. They like to strum like D major, D sus2, and it kind of has like a peaceful tone. Or you can do the same thing from a minor chord. Sounds cool too. So here's the 2, flat 3, 3. So the 4 is right here of a D major scale, which turns out to be G. So there it is. So people like to go D major. Like I was saying, it's easy to make. You could make a song with all sus2 chords. Like I'm gonna take this shape and move it around. Whoops, sorry. It sounds better if you arpeggiate it. It sounds pretty cool. Like. Whereas sus4 is a lot harder to make. Like you couldn't really make a whole song out of sus4s. Doesn't sound very good. Sus4 is more useful for like, especially rock. You could be like, if you have some distortion. And like AC/DC love sus4 chords. So that was the second video, and then the next video I talked about the major scale, and I did this pattern. So this is a basic major pattern on the 6th string. And the numbers are 1, this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then you can hear it starts it over again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. There's an extra 2 up here. So 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this would be a B major scale because this note is B. But what's useful about this, you can move it wherever you want. So you go down here, G major scale. You could do it up here on A. You could do it up here on D. And then what's powerful about this is to start knowing those numbers well enough where you can start to build chords. So what I was showing is here would be like a full bar chord. And this the voicing here would be, here's the 1. The next note would be the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next note is the 1 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. The next note is of this major chord is the 3. 1, 2, 3. This is the 5 and this is the 1. So this is 1, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1. But I don't like I said, I don't really like bar chords. Like, instead of playing, like, let's say I did this chord to the second for F sharp, because those sound good together, B and F sharp major. If I was playing like background stuff, I would do that, but I would tend to go like this if I'm playing by myself. The reason why is because look how many fingers I have free now to start experimenting. Like, whoops. So you have these extra notes free. Or you could do like 3-note chords. Even if you're strumming them, they sound more stripped down, so they sound cool. Or this really stripped down major chord, just 1, 3. And then I was showing some, like, you can start getting fancier. Like, you could do the 1, 3 here, and the 3 there. Or you could do like 1, I like to do this shape, 1, 3, 5. Sounds nice. Or there's this diamond shape. It's actually just a major chord, but what's kind of cool about it, then you have these notes. So you can be like, what I'm doing is barring the 2 and the 6. I mean the 2 and the 6, and then I'm like hammering on. And John Mayer and like bluesy guys like to do this. And so it kind of opens up a lot of stuff. So one thing I didn't talk about that I should have is how do you start getting flats and sharps out of this? So I'll do that and that'll be it. Because the final video I did is how to start applying this stuff. So I think this is more important because I kind of skipped over this. So here's a major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So let's say we want to convert this to a minor scale. Well, you can either memorize a minor pattern. You can just memorize it. That's a good way to do it when you're starting. But it's kind of cool to start knowing what is a minor scale, like, because you can relate it to the major scale. What you do is you flat the 3, you flat the 6, and you flat the 7 for a basic natural minor scale, which is the most common. So we're going up the major scale, so we keep the 1 the same. 1, 2, then we want to flat the 3. So instead of this 3, I want to flat it. So 1, 2, flat 3. 4, 5, we need flat 6, flat 7, and 1. Then we're going to do 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. So it's all related to the major scale. So what's cool about it is then you can start building like new types of chords, like minor chords. So minor chord